Alec, welcome back to Black Mirror.
You know what they say, once you go black, you're in the mirror. That's what they say.
Uh, that's right. That's right. And
Yeah.
we're on season 4 of Black Mirror. I have seen these episodes. Alec has not. Taken them through. We're gonna have fun discussions on them. Previously, we watched Archangel. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And what a ride it was. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think Alex said it was,
It was
like top five episode.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
Hmm.
Nope, no. That's not where it is.
At least some parenting lessons that we all could not have surmised on our own.
Nope, not at all.
We had to see it. We had to see it to
a
better ourselves.
Sympathetic portrayal. Thank you, Charlie Brooker. We really needed a sympathetic
it's crazy how, like,
portrayal.
By the end of it, we were all like, we understood the mother and we were on her side.
Yeah, by the end.
Yeah.
Yes, sure, definitely.
I mean, it's crazy how off base that is, to where like she's getting beaten over the head with her tablet, and we're still not on her side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. We were still kind of like, well, I can kind of understand where the daughter's coming from.
I kind of get it.
Yeah,
She almost died. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Oh.
Alright, so we're going to watch an episode called Crocodile. Alright, as always, you can click the link in the description to see the highlights of a reaction and come back afterwards for the discussion, okay?
Okay.
Alright, well, there you have it. It's episode 3, season 4, Crocodile. Pretty cold-blooded to me.
It sure was. Boy, that was a
That's a doozy.
It was an episode. Yeah. All right.
It's one
Why
of
is
the
it called
ones-
Crocodile?
Because crocodiles are cold-blooded.
Hey, that's good enough reason for me. I don't actually know if that's really the reason why it's called
I
that,
don't know
but
either. But like crocodile tears, like, I don't know, like
maybe.
something with that.
She didn't really fake cry, but maybe, yeah, just to do with the fact that how cold-blooded it was to just kill all those people like that. How heartless you have to be in order to... I mean, crocodiles have hearts, but
Right.
a cold-blooded reptile.
Crocodile wouldn't have
Alright,
done
look it
that.
up.
A crocodile would have let the baby go, you know?
Yeah,
Jeez,
probably.
son. Crocodile's got some standards here, right?
It's got some standards, after all. The tale Crocodile originated from an idea in the initial script. Reviewers drew connections to Mia possibly expressing crocodile tears. So there you go. That's something. Insincere expressions of sorrow. Mia's scene crying in the episodes initially seems much more emotional than Rob about the car crash death. Fletcher says that she becomes a completely ruthless and cold killer. There's an ambiguity over whether or not the grief is really sincere, because, I mean, she just keeps going. So...
Alright, well, let's get into it, okay?
Yeah. All right, let's go. Let's get into it.
What do you think?
I don't know. On the one hand, I think it was interesting in that how we sort of see the sort of chain reaction of events happen, where someone can just one bad decision, even delayed, can have an effect on the rest of your life. And how, like, future decisions basically just cascade down to each other, right? So it's an interesting sort of exploration. It's almost like a spooky mirror in of yourself, like, to a degree, where it's like
Spooky mirror.
you wouldn't think.
Yes.
A spooky mirror, not a black mirror, but like you think of it as like, what if this happened to you, kind of thing. Like,
Right.
there's almost like a reflection, like, does not everyone have the propensity to do something like this?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. So that's sort of the chilling. To me, that's kind of one of the chilling thoughts of the episode, because she seems like a fairly balanced person on the surface.
Yeah.
I mean, we can even maybe say that she just never was ever, but how that one decision then led her to feel like she had to continue doing whatever she could to protect what she did initially, the original decision that she made at the very beginning, or her partner at the time made at the beginning. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of feeling formulaic. We're now following the bad guy every time. It sort of feels like, okay, like like it feels like we're just sort of doing the same thing in every episode so far, and it's like, it's that's a little something. This was also like extremely like this felt like Shut Up and Dance levels of bleak.
Yes.
In the sense that like there's just no happiness to be found whatsoever.
Right. It gave me the same similar feeling, where it's just like constant tension and just like cringing at what's going down, the horrible stuff that's going down.
So it's like to me, it's right around there. Like, I don't hate it. I think there's a lot of interesting things about it. I actually really like the fact that so much of it was referential to stuff to previous season stuff, like where it feels very similar to. There's lots of reference to things like 50 Million Merits, obviously, is the big one. But there's also like the sort of mind technology, or the replaying technology is sort of like, it feels like a still being implemented version, or like a still being developed version of the entire History of You kind of technology. And so that's kind of neat and fun, because that, as we've talked about, is probably one of the most like one of the more thought-provoking technologies that they've had in terms of like thinking about its implementation in our lives.
I like the like almost intentional limitations of the technology, because if you give them the technology of entire History of You, then like this story can't happen, because you just take you take one person. Well, first of all, you take the guy who got hit by the van and just let him replay his memories like perfectly, the recording of it, and that's probably all you need. But
so you never really get a resolution whether or not he faked it or not, by the way, which is an interesting thing.
Right.
That's all small peanuts by the end of it.
It doesn't actually matter, but it's just all how it connects to her. And yeah, who knows, if she didn't look out at that moment, then maybe she never would have been caught. Well, it ultimately led to her doing all that awful stuff, going back and killing the husband, and then killing the son, or the baby.
Yeah.
And then the guinea pig gets there. All right, clutch decision to keep that guinea pig when they were thinking about taking it back. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. So that's another thing that's actually pretty. That I also really like about the episode is that no detail is like feels like fluff. It's a pretty well thought out script in terms of like all the different details of everything. So that's pretty cool. I appreciate it when there's a lot of thought put into things like that. So, kudos to Charlie Brooker doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like we get a lot of setup and payoff for a lot of stuff, like the car not starting, or the guinea pig. Yeah, for sure.
Well,
and they even mention that their difficulty with their son, and they don't really specify, and then you find out that the son was blind, so she literally didn't have to do that.
Yeah, but that's also an interesting, weird twist on it. So where somehow this like technology makes children more vulnerable in this world, like for people like that. So where maybe a killer doing this stuff might spare a child because it's one step too far. In this world, it's like, okay, that is actually a potential witness also. So it's like, that's a weird twisted part of it too. But one thing I don't get is necessarily with the guinea pig, because most of the time it's like she's coaxing them. She's like asking them questions, giving them an aroma to like kind of ease them into it, and like, you don't have to do that with a guinea pig.
Right, but with animals, remember they process memory very differently than humans do. But I think their short-term memory is fairly good. So because it's so fairly recently after this happened, they're probably able to sort of like access whatever spare memories they can, and we're able to identify her from that. So
It's so interesting because it's for advanced, for as limited as the technology is here. It's like that advanced where you can just hook it onto anything with the brain. It seems, and
yeah, I mean it would make sense, or something enough with enough of a sort of cerebral cortex to be able to plasticize memory, I guess, to a degree. So
And it's similar to the last episode, into where the technology is in a world that otherwise seems like an ordinary world. It just has this little piece of technology in there.
Yeah.
And
so
it does
was
have that
I think it was
van thing, but
so I think it was technically supposed to be Iceland.
hmm.
So just so we're aware on that,
I
which
thought it
makes
said
sense
the
with
UK
the
at some point. That's why I said that. But
oh, maybe, but it definitely sort of
definitely
it
looks
definitely
like
makes sense with the just general environment. It felt very,
and I do
especially
like
with
that.
like where I think to me it adds to the sort of bleakness and the sort of remoteness of everything, which I guess ultimately adds to the episode's tone,
Yeah.
which is good to a degree. I mean, I definitely still continuing to excel uh, in terms of lighting and camera work. Very claustrophobic feeling for as open and wide some of the like landscape shots are and everything. They do a really good job of making you feel like they have all these up close shots of her that feels very claustrophobic and intense, and so they do a really good job at sort of
Yeah.
melding the two.
And we talked about the lighting. Yeah, I think it was directed really
Mm,
well. Like a lot
mm,
of the shots seem very intentional and well composed.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was very effective, similarly to the Shut Up and Dance episode, and like really giving you that feeling. It's it's supposed to just be an uncomfortable feeling that whole time.
Mm.
And yeah, it's what you said, where it's um, like a spooky mirror into yourself.
Yeah,
It's like it's almost like a Breaking Bad concept, like the concept
yeah.
of Breaking Bad, where it's like once you do one bad thing, then it's like okay, you can become more and more comfortable doing worse things.
You can sort of justify to yourself like that it's okay because you've decided in your mind that this has to be the way it is,
But
and that there's no going back from it.
it's clearly horrible, like
Yeah,
and like irredeemable from anybody watching it on the outside. It's
for sure.
it's not even like, even from the
Um,
beginning, you can't even, it's not like they were both sober driving, like you can immediately even have that little bit of like you could understand slightly, because it's like, well,
yeah,
he was drunk too, so it's like
yeah,
they already crossed the
it was,
line I wouldn't have crossed, so it's like you already
yeah,
lost to
right,
me.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's
I mean,
ironic because she was going to call someone. She was going to call the police or whatever, and he was the one who was like, "No,
yeah,
don't do that. They'll lock me away." And then next thing you know, all these years later, he ends up killing her to cover it up, and then
mhm,
innocent people, poor innocent, whole
mm,
innocent family, just for that. Like
yeah.
her doing her job well. I felt like that was particularly like painful, that her death and everything, and it's just some
Oh yeah,
scary of her coming up to the car and everything, like shots like that.
oh yeah, that was like the worst because like that was somebody she like had a specific like conversation with and everything and getting like sort of personable with, and then like she like tied her up and like tracked down the people that like, oh well, you
Yeah,
do other people. So it's like so all of that was like premeditated. Then she like premeditated the murder of her husband. And it's just like
yeah, and then
it's
she
like
goes on.
you've gone from spontaneous decision making to now being like, I'm going to go murder your family now. So
She, she mentioned to the guy that she killed, who was gonna write the letter. She was like, years of shame and guilt and stuff. Like I don't know if that's true or if she's just saying that. She actually felt that way,
mm,
because now, like, you really think you're gonna be able to just go on about your life now? You're watching your kids perform in this little little play or whatever, and you're just gonna go on
Little
about your
musical number.
life. And if that really did affect you, that last thing, like it's not happening. Like you really think you're just gonna go back to normal life and forget that happened.
There's always this thing in a lot of British mysteries that my parents. It's something that I can remember them saying as long back as I can remember of us watching them. But with it when in these some of these mystery shows when they when they finally figure out, like, they finally solve the murder case, it's like people that had also murdered somebody like 45 years ago, whatever, when it's like an old person that's done it, they then murdered someone else again because they found out a secret or something. But it's like, then my parents always say stuff like, how could you hold on to something that long? Like, how could they get away with, first of all, how could they get away with it for so long? But then also, like, how could they, like, live with themselves and like keep that buried for so long? And yeah, that's, I mean, there's a weird propensity for, sometimes it's a good propensity, but there's a propensity for human beings to be able to, like, repress and justify and, like, hold memories down. And it's just, when you make up your mind to justify it, like, that's sometimes that's all it takes. It's just be like, yep, I had to do that thing, and that's the way it is.
Yeah. And
So
and as people that wouldn't
it's
make
kind
those
of
decisions,
scary.
is like, obviously it's gonna be hard to even try to wrap your head around how can you live with that. It's like, well, I don't. It's impossible to know how they operate because I wouldn't have done it to begin with. So it's like
Yeah,
it's hard to really think about.
yeah.
Anything else on the episode? Any particular like weak points or things
Well,
holding it
like I
back
said,
from
I,
being
I
a
almost think maybe
great one?
it's almost maybe too bleak and too violent for its own good. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's sort of the point of the episode, but, like, it's starting to feel like every time we've followed too many, like, villains now, because, like, that's all we're doing at this point. Like, it's like, can we maybe have something a little different? so
I will say
we
that the
followed
next
villains
episode is
basically this
something
whole.
different at the very least.
Okay,
Hmm.
so we followed villains now for, like, a couple episodes. I mean, I mean, it honestly is almost like a Black Mirror trope now, right? So we got White Bear, where that's the twist, is that we're following the villain,
Hmm.
but you just can't remember it. Shut Up and Dance, that's definitely happening in there.
That's the one. That's where
And
you
that's,
don't know they're the bad guys. Kind of.
yeah, until the very end, they kind of rug pull you. Just trying to see some other ones here. I guess not so much on some of these other ones, but Archangel, I mean, arguable on that one, but, like, a lot of it is about the mother, and I think the mother is not a good person and sort of drove her daughter to do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. And then the
Um,
USS Callister was.
USS Callister was all about that.
Yeah.
I mean, USS Callister had, like, a bigger cast. They had more people, but, like, the main guy we were following was Jesse Plemons, so who's just super good at playing a creepy bad guy. I don't know. He's, like, good at that. So,
Yeah.
oh, you with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, it
was
froze there
weird,
for a
yeah.
second for me. So.
White Christmas
Yeah, I
also
think
had
that's about it.
elements of that.
Oh yeah,
Where
it's
it's
true.
like
Yeah.
literally these two guys telling the stories of
Hmm.
the crimes they did. Is
Yeah.
just in a little kind of a charming way at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
So it's a little bit of a trope at this kind, for, or at least, like, or it's maybe not trope, but, like, it is. It feels like it's a Black Mirror staple, and it's like we've already kind of done this before to a degree. So, I mean, Hated in there's also a similarity in terms of tone with Hated in the Nation also.
Right.
That's more of a mystery plot. This isn't quite a mystery because we are actually following the person, and then we're just watching the investigator figure it out, through a. And that's another thing too, is that also is, like, the whole thing about, like, a ripple effect too from the investigation. That's all sort of the theme that's sort of relayed. Also, because that one thing that happened, that there's a claim for it now, from everyone's different perspective. There's sort of ripple effects that ripple out from there. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, he saw this person saw this, and this person saw this, and yeah.
And then you can see with this technology, people being like hesitant to, if they have their own secrets. This guy's a peeping tom,
Mm-hmm.
and then like you can just she told her that she's seen some crazy stuff on that machine, but I believe that.
Yeah.
It's like you're always gonna just happen into like, oh, I didn't want to see that. That wasn't That's not what I was looking for, but
Right.
that's what led. If she had gotten out of there, that would have led to getting this woman arrested. So you just kind of like can fall into these other shady stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Also
Right.
liked the sort of retro futurism of it too.
Yes.
That was another thing I wanted to mention, but that was pretty neat.
Yeah, I like the aesthetic to that because it fits the
Yes.
world, not being too advanced. Where it's like you have that pizza van, which isn't like crazy, but it's definitely like ahead of its time at least.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so how do we rank Crocodile on our episode rankings here?
I am sticking Crocodile right under Shut Up and Dance.
I feel that.
So above White Bear, I still think I would, yeah, I still liked it more than White Bear, I would say.
So now for your rankings, that makes it Playtest, White Christmas, Entire History of You, Nosedive, USS Callister, San Junipero, 15 Million Merits, Be Right Back, Hated in the Nation, Shut Up and Dance, Crocodile, White Bear, National Anthem, Men Against Fire, Archangel, The Waldo Moment.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's a little different in how it's arranged, but I would similarly put it around Shut Up and Dance based on that. But I do have some other things below it. I would probably put it below. Yeah, I'll put it below Hated in the Nation for me, which is that puts it like bottom 6 or something. Similar spot. I think we're at the same spot basically. So mine would be Playtest, White Christmas, Entire History of You, San Junipero, 15 Million Merits, USS Callister, Nosedive, Shut Up and Dance, Be Right Back, Hated in the Nation, Crocodile, White Bear, National Anthem, Men Against Fire, Archangel, Waldo Moment. All right.
So our bottom at Crocodile, the whole bottom slate there is pretty much the same.
Yeah, but by no means that I dislike this episode. I actually thought a lot of it was done really well done.
I'm actually with you. I think it's sort of like lower mid tier, as I guess what I would call it. I think there's definitely a lot of merits to it. But it's
not that many merits though.
Not 15 million. Not 15 million. No. But yeah. Except for when I watch again, I think there's something about like it's a good creepy eerie sort of plot. I just think a lot of the other episodes do it a little bit better. Like in terms of if you want super bleak worldviews, I mean, Shut Up and Dance is about as bleak as you're gonna get in terms of literally no redemption in that one. But
we mentioned it briefly, but this fact that it's so 15 Million Merits referential, I don't know why exactly.
Yeah.
It's all in on that. They have the song. They mentioned the Hot Shots judge being involved in something. And then they also, when she got the porn, right next to the porn she selected was Wraith Babes from 15 Million
That's
Merits.
right. So yes.
It's like, wow, okay. I don't know what inspired that connection because these episodes are so different to like. I don't know why, but
I don't know either. Maybe there was something in that Wikipedia article about it that I was looking at earlier. I don't know if there's something.
So like all that does that literally just they were cemented that this is in the same universe as 15 Million Merits. Like okay, even though it seems so vastly different, it's kind of wild.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of wild.
15 million, like this seems like a relatively normal world with a minor like retro futuristic technology, and then 15 Million Merits is like all like futuristic, like they're using these bikes to get merits and powering who knows what. It's like in this mystery weird society.
Right, but apparently it's still somehow in Apparently, it's this world somehow, so that's kind of weird. It is a little strange that it is very.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's any sort of justification. So I just in the Wikipedia, just looking up 15. There's no real justification for it.
Well, Charlie.
Other than just be like, hey, we got that, so I guess we can do that. Yeah, the talent show Hot Shots and porn channel Wraith Babes, two other features are also mentioned. Yeah. Well, they also have the UKN, which is the news channel, and the pizza company Fences, which was in USS Callister.
Oh, I didn't even realize that actually.
Yeah, I didn't either. Oh, this is funny. A newspaper article briefly shown also contains the text. Of course, the real question is why anyone would pause what they're watching just to read a sentence in a printed out newspaper article. Says a voice in your head before advising you to go and share this finding on Reddit.
Oh, wow.
So that's funny.
Yeah. Okay, so they had a couple other references in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very heavy on the 15 million merits.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. But
yeah, I don't know. We've had references in the past. Like, I don't know. Are they suggesting that this is all connected? Like, all these episodes are connected? Because in other episodes referenced the Waldo moment and a couple others like mixed in there. It's interesting to think about this world building here.
It's very, very interesting for sure.
All right, we'll come back next week for another episode of Black Mirror. All right.
Okay.
In the meantime, what video would you recommend our viewers watch?
You go check out our discussion of Nosedive. Our reaction to Nosedive. You can go check that out.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Her best work. Bryce Dallas
It's our best work. It's our best work.
Her best work.
Yes.
The actress.
Yes, of course. But of course.
Yes.
But of course.
Yes. All right. Anyway, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you enjoyed. Leave a comment, and if you do, we'll be sure to mention it in the next episode of the Tarqaron podcast. All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Hit that notification bell, and click link in the description for our social media.